Today, let's talk about a planet so strange that if you were born there, your birthday could arrive before your day even ended. Sounds impossible, right? But it's true. And the planet we're talking about is Venus. Here on Earth, we live by a simple rule. A day is 24 hours, and a year is 365 days. A day is always shorter than a year. This feels so natural that we never even question it. But is that true for every planet in the solar system? The answer is no. And Venus is the most jaw-dropping exception of all. Let's start by clarifying what day and year actually mean. A planet's year is the time it takes to complete one full orbit around the sun. A day is the time it takes for the planet to complete one full rotation on its own axis. For Earth, one trip around the sun takes about 365 days, and one rotation on its axis takes 24 hours. That's why we get roughly 365 days in a year. Now let's turn to Venus. Venus takes about 225 Earth days to complete one orbit around the sun. So a year on Venus equals roughly 225 Earth days. Here's where it gets interesting. How long does Venus take to spin once on its own axis? This is the key to the entire mystery. Venus takes about 243 days to complete a single rotation on its axis. Think about that, 243 days. That's longer than Venus's own year, which is only 225 days. So what does that mean? Venus doesn't even finish one spin on its axis before it has already completed a full orbit around the sun. In this sense, a day on Venus is longer than its year. This is the famous paradox. It sounds unbelievable at first, but it's the reality. But there's another twist to this story. When we say day, we're actually talking about two different things. One is how long it takes the planet to rotate once relative to the distant stars. This is called a sidereal day. The other is how long it takes from one sunrise to the next. This is called a solar day. On Earth, the difference between these two is tiny. Just a few minutes. But on Venus, the difference is enormous. That's because Venus not only spins extremely slowly, but it also spins in the opposite direction compared to most other planets. This backward spin is called retrograde rotation. Almost every planet in the solar system rotates on its axis in the same direction it orbits the sun, but Venus rotates in the completely opposite direction. So if you stood on the surface of Venus, you would see the sun rise in the west and set in the east. Exactly the reverse of what we experience on Earth. So what happens because of this retrograde rotation? Venus's motion around the sun and its backward spin interact with each other in a special way. As a result, when measured relative to the sun, that is, as a solar day, a day on Venus turns out to be about 117 Earth days. Now, let's compare. Venus's year is 225 Earth days. Venus's solar day is 117 Earth days. By this measure, a day is actually shorter than a year. So was the whole story wrong? Not at all. This is exactly where it gets fascinating. The answer depends entirely on which kind of day we're talking about. If we mean the sidereal day, one full rotation relative to the stars, then a day on Venus is longer than its year, because 243 is greater than 225. But if we mean the solar day, sunrise to sunrise, then a day is shorter than a year, 117 versus 225. And this is the real lesson here. In the universe, many familiar concepts depend entirely on how precisely we define them. The claim that a day on Venus is longer than its year is true in the context of the sidereal day, and that's exactly why it's one of the most talked about facts in astronomy, because it completely upends our Earth-based intuition. Now, why does Venus behave so strangely? Why does it spin so slowly? And why in the opposite direction? Scientists don't have a fully certain answer, but there are a few leading theories. The first theory is that early in the solar system's formation, Venus may have experienced one or more massive collisions with other large bodies. These impacts could have been powerful enough to completely flip Venus's rotation, or slow it down so much that it eventually settled into a reversed spin. The second theory involves Venus's incredibly thick atmosphere. Venus's atmosphere is about 90 times denser than Earth's, And the way this atmosphere circulates could exert a kind of drag or torque on the solid planet beneath it, gradually influencing both the speed and direction of its rotation over billions of years. A third explanation involves the gravitational interaction between Venus and the Sun, known as tidal forces. Over an enormous span of time, these forces can slow a planet's rotation and lock it into a stable state, where the spin and the orbit become tied together in a specific ratio. Most likely, it's a combination of all three factors that brought Venus to its current bizarre state. A planet that spins so slowly and in such a reversed direction that the relationship between its day and its year gets completely flipped. Let's bring it all together one more time. Venus's year, one full trip around the sun, is about 225 Earth days. Venus's sidereal day, one full spin relative to the stars, is about 243 Earth days, which is longer than its year. And Venus's solar day, sunrise to sunrise, is about 117 Earth days, which is shorter than its year. And the reason behind this strange behavior is Venus's extremely slow backward rotation, likely the result of ancient cosmic collisions, the influence of its dense atmosphere, and the gravitational pull of the sun. Here's one more fun fact to leave you with. If you lived on Venus and counted days from sunrise to sunrise, by the time a single Venusian day passed, nearly 2 full Venusian years would have gone by. Imagine celebrating 2 birthdays within a single day. This story reminds us just how diverse and unpredictable the universe really is. What feels normal to us on Earth is often just a special case, not a universal rule for the rest of the solar system. Venus reminds us that every planet has its own story, and sometimes those stories are stranger than science fiction itself. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more mind-bending facts about the cosmos.